Hey there, dear friends. Welcome, and thank you for spending your time with us today. If you find these insights meaningful and inspiring, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you never miss a moment of powerful content that helps you grow, think deeper, and live better. Let's keep learning and rising together. The smile, a soft power that opens every door to success. In today's fast paced world, where competition, efficiency, and productivity often overshadow emotional connection, something as simple as a smile holds unexpected power. For the Jewish people, one of the most intellectually gifted and successful communities on earth, a smile is not merely a reflex or emotional expression. It is a strategic tool deeply embedded in their culture and mindset. Jewish wisdom sees a smile as the shortest distance from one heart to another. They treat it not as a random act, but as a deliberate form of communication, one that radiates positive energy, creates trust, and builds connections in both personal life and business. In a world increasingly skeptical and defensive, a genuine smile becomes a signal of goodwill, a universal language that cuts through barriers and suspicion. Jewish entrepreneurs understand this profoundly. Before deals and profits come trust, and a smile is often the first brick in that foundation. Studies in modern psychology, particularly in the United States, have shown that a genuine Duchenne smile, which engages both the mouth and eyes, activates brain regions associated with reward and social bonding. People who smile sincerely are often perceived as more likable, trustworthy, and competent. This isn't just theoretical for the Jewish community. It's a behavior deeply ingrained from childhood, passed down from generation to generation. When they enter any setting, whether it's a negotiation, a pitch meeting, or even a conflict, they begin with a smile. Not to fake friendliness, but to set a tone of calm and connection. The history of the Jewish people is marked by extraordinary suffering, exile, discrimination, and genocide. And yet, they endured and thrived. One reason lies in their mindset of resilience, and the smile represents that unshakable spirit. In many Jewish households, children are taught early on, the world can take everything from you, but it cannot take your smile. The ability to smile in the face of adversity reflects mastery over one's emotions and fate. In business, this understanding becomes an asset. A successful Jewish business person rarely jumps straight into hard negotiation. They might begin with a story, a warm grin, a moment of laughter. Why? Because people decide emotionally first and rationally later. If you can make someone smile, you're already halfway to making them say yes. This philosophy isn't anecdotal. Billionaire Steve Cohen once shared, a meeting might last 30 minutes, but if I can make my partner laugh 3 times in the first 10, the deal is 90% done. For Jews, a smile is a soft strike in the art of negotiation. It relaxes the tension, disarms the ego, and redirects the conversation from confrontation to cooperation. Even in disagreement, a gentle smile can reframe the atmosphere. While many Americans prefer direct confrontation, Jews often choose an emotional buffer, starting and ending discussions with warmth. This isn't fear, it's strategy born from emotional intelligence, conquering through connection, not collision. This principle is instilled early. In Jewish schools across America, students are taught not just math or science, but life skills, and among them, the skill of smiling. Lessons like smile when you greet someone, smile at a stranger, you don't know their burden, and a smile costs nothing but is priceless are part of the curriculum. These lessons build confidence, empathy, and relational strength, preparing children to succeed not just academically, but socially and emotionally. In the media, where image is everything, Jewish speakers, authors, and leaders are known for their warmth. Their smiles are not random, they're trained expressions of goodwill, consciously used to engage and influence. A friendly smile on camera or on stage doesn't just look good, it creates emotional resonance with viewers and listeners. This approach offers a critical lesson for modern Americans. In a society grappling with emotional burnout, isolation, and anxiety, people are losing touch with each other. We've learned to protect ourselves with stoic expressions, but in doing so, we're cutting off the very bridges we need to feel connected and understood. The Jewish mindset gently reminds us, warmth doesn't come from wealth, it comes from the eyes and the mouth that greet others with sincerity. A single authentic smile can change the course of a day or a life. Imagine walking into your workplace and being greeted with a sincere smile. Suddenly, you feel welcomed, seen, human. That is no longer an individual act. It's collective emotional energy at work. This is why, for Jews, smiling is not merely a way to live. It's a way to win. It has helped them survive unspeakable hardships, build thriving businesses, form lasting bonds, and leave a mark across every continent. The smile, in their hands, becomes a symbol of soft power, emotional intelligence, and strategic empathy. For Americans, especially young people navigating a complex, globalized world, learning when, where, and how to smile genuinely could be one of the most underrated yet powerful tools for success. Because while people forget names and titles, they always remember how you made them feel. And a sincere smile is often the first impression they never forget. Leveraging intelligence, borrowing without debt. While many people are familiar with the idea of borrowing money to grow a business or improve their lives, the Jewish mindset transcends this basic concept. For them, the most valuable thing to borrow is not capital, it's intellect, ideas, and systems. In Jewish culture, borrowing intelligence is a sacred art. It doesn't require repayment in dollars, but it demands appreciation, observation, and the courage to apply what you learn. This unique philosophy is best described as using the minds of others to amplify your own potential. It's a strategic move that allows people to transcend limitations without exhausting themselves or starting from zero. The Jewish approach to success doesn't revolve around who works the hardest, but who thinks the smartest. And more importantly, who borrows brilliance without shame. From a young age, Jewish children are taught that the real asset is not physical strength, but mental agility. While others lift with their bodies, they are encouraged to lift with their minds. This is why Jewish entrepreneurs, scientists, lawyers, and educators often study success models obsessively, then replicate, adapt, and innovate. In this way, they borrow entire frameworks, ways of thinking, systems of organization, marketing tactics, negotiation scripts, even communication styles. This method is far more than imitation. It's intellectual leverage. If someone has already solved a problem, the Jewish way is not to reinvent the wheel, but to understand why it works, extract its essence, and make it your own. By doing so, they gain years of experience in a single insight. Take the story of many Jewish entrepreneurs in America. When they arrive in a new market, they don't try to dominate by brute force or budget. Instead, they study what works. Talk to those who have done it before and ask intelligent questions. Then, with surgical precision, they apply that knowledge to outperform competitors who rely solely on trial and error. This mindset creates a multiplier effect. Instead of working 10 times harder, they gain access to the compounded intelligence of dozens, even hundreds of minds. They understand the power of the Talmudic principle. I have learned much from my teachers, more from my friends, but most from my students. Every interaction is an opportunity to absorb, synthesize, and scale knowledge. In practical terms, this translates into mentorship, mastermind groups, books, case studies, open source tools, and business blueprints. While others see competition, Jewish thinkers often see collaboration through observation. They don't just learn what people do, they learn how they think. And this brings us to a powerful principle. The most valuable capital in the world is borrowed intellect. It costs you nothing but attention. It doesn't demand repayment, only implementation. When you borrow money, you risk debt. When you borrow wisdom, you gain leverage. In a world that worships hustle culture, the Jewish approach is refreshingly different. It's about working smart before working hard. Why dig the trench yourself when you can learn how someone built an irrigation system and scale it 10 times faster? This mindset also promotes humility. You must first acknowledge that others know something you don't and be willing to ask, listen, and apply. That's not weakness. It's strength in its purest form. The ego says, I'll figure it out myself. The wise say, someone has already figured this out. Let me learn. In essence, the Jewish genius lies in their ability to borrow brilliance, adapt it with purpose, and turn it into breakthroughs. They don't steal. They don't mimic blindly. They honor intelligence by multiplying it. Whether you're a startup founder, a student, or someone rebuilding their life, this lesson applies. Stop trying to do everything alone. Find who already knows, borrow their mind, and run with it. That is the Jewish way. That is intellectual leverage. Money is a game, not the destination. To many people, money is the ultimate goal, the finish line, the prize, the proof of success. But in the Jewish worldview, money is something entirely different. It's not the destination. It's the game itself, a dynamic, evolving landscape where strategy, discipline, and emotional control matter more than the dollars earned. This mindset shift is profound. While much of the world chases wealth with a sense of desperation, the Jewish approach is grounded, thoughtful, and often detached from emotional obsession. They understand that money is a tool, a medium of exchange, a reflection of value, not a reflection of self-worth. By treating money as a game, Jews are able to study its rules, analyze its patterns, and master its movements, just like a chessboard. They don't panic when they lose, nor do they become reckless when they win. What matters most isn't the accumulation, but the skill of playing well, making smart moves, anticipating risk, leveraging timing, and keeping their emotions in check. This detachment doesn't mean they don't value money. Quite the opposite. They respect it deeply, which is why they don't idolize it. When you see money as a tool, not a god, you treat it with logic, not fear. You invest carefully. You spend intentionally. You learn from every transaction. This is why Jewish communities have produced some of the most successful investors, economists, and financial theorists in the world. Not because they worship wealth, but because they understand how the financial game works, from macroeconomic trends to human behavior in markets. For them, wealth is a byproduct of wisdom, not a measurement of status. And perhaps most importantly, they use money to build inner strength, not just outer comfort. A Jewish entrepreneur may go broke and start again without shame. A Jewish student may work for years with minimal income, focusing on learning and long-term vision. Why? Because they've been taught. Your value doesn't come from what you have, but from how you think and how you act under pressure. In this game, emotions are the biggest trap. Greed clouds judgment. Fear freezes action. Envy leads to poor decisions. But those who see money as a game understand the golden rule. If you can't control your emotions, you can't control your outcomes. That's why emotional training is baked into Jewish education, through stories, debate, delayed gratification, and real-world exposure. They are also taught to detach from financial comparison. Competing with others is a distraction. The only real competition is with yourself. Are you playing the game better today than you did yesterday? That's where growth happens. That's where peace comes from. By removing the emotional weight of winning, Jews are free to play the game long term. No shortcuts, no desperate moves. Just steady learning, smart plays, and a calm heart. They don't chase flashy rewards. They build systems. They understand compounding. They respect risk. They prepare for loss. And when they win, they reinvest, not just into portfolios, but into communities, education, and legacies. Because for them, money is not the end goal. It's a means to empower values, express gratitude, and leave something lasting behind. If more people saw money this way, not as a finish line, but as a game board to master, the world would be filled with calmer minds, better decisions, and deeper success. Don't play to chase. Play to grow. Play to learn. Play for the joy of mastering something bigger than yourself. That is the Jewish way. That is how money becomes a tool, not a trap. The cotton-thinking mindset, win-win or nothing. In a world where many people treat negotiation as a battleground and success as a zero-sum game, the Jewish mindset brings in a softer but far more powerful approach. Cotton thinking. It's not about who wins and who loses. It's about how both sides can walk away better than they came. This philosophy isn't just moral, it's strategic. The Jewish community has long understood that sustainable success cannot be built on one-sided gain. Deals that benefit only one party may work once, but they rarely last. True wealth, whether in business, family, or community, comes from creating systems where everyone wins. Cotton thinking is soft in texture, but firm in structure. Like cotton, it absorbs, adapts, and cushions. It's the opposite of sharp, rigid, ego-driven thinking that seeks to dominate. Jewish thought encourages individuals to see the other person's needs, respect their dignity, and find alignment, not conflict. In this way, business becomes relationship building, not just profit taking. From early childhood, Jewish children are taught the value of mutual respect, shared responsibility, and fair exchange. Stories from the Torah and Talmud are filled with lessons about just trade, honest work, and treating others as you wish to be treated. This ethical base eventually evolves into a powerful win-win worldview that drives not only personal success, but communal trust and loyalty. In practical business terms, this means Jewish entrepreneurs often prioritize long-term partnerships over short-term victories. When structuring deals, they ask questions like, how can this help both of us grow? What would make this partnership valuable for years? Is there something I can give beyond what's written in the contract? They don't seek to win by squeezing the last penny or exploiting a loophole, because they know that a short-term win that damages the relationship is a long-term loss. Instead, they create deals that feel fair, balanced, and deeply considered, deals that make people want to come back. This mindset also helps explain why Jewish communities are often so tightly interconnected. Trust is the currency, reputation is capital, and win-win thinking is what keeps the social and economic networks thriving for generations. Even in competitive industries, Jewish professionals often look for co-creation opportunities, how to work with, not just around, other players. They seek strategic alliances over market domination. This doesn't mean they lack ambition. On the contrary, they pursue greatness, but not at the cost of others' well-being. Cotton thinking is also emotional intelligence in action. It's about listening deeply, understanding unspoken needs, and offering more than is expected. It's about giving your partner room to breathe, room to win, and room to trust. And when things go wrong, as they sometimes do, it's this very mindset that allows Jewish business people to repair broken bridges. Apologies are given, new terms are offered, dignity is preserved, because the relationship is more valuable than a temporary upper hand. For Americans navigating today's hyper-competitive world, this Jewish lesson is revolutionary. You don't have to crush the other side to rise. In fact, your rise will be stronger if you lift others with you. It's not weakness, it's wisdom, it's longevity. Because in the end, success without relationships is fragile, and power without cooperation is lonely. But success built on mutual gain, that's resilient, rewarding, and deeply human. Think soft, move smart, build for both. That is cotton thinking. That is the Jewish way to win, together. The power of the middleman, wealth without ownership. In a world obsessed with ownership, owning property, products, or platforms, the Jewish mindset reveals a counterintuitive yet powerful truth. You don't need to own something to profit from it. You only need to connect the right people at the right time. This is the art of being the middleman. To many, being a middleman may sound modest or secondary, but in Jewish thinking, it's a strategic role that requires intelligence, observation, timing, and trust. It's not about possession, it's about positioning. Jewish entrepreneurs have long recognized that the true value in business lies not in having the most resources, but in knowing how to link resources together. Whether it's connecting buyers and sellers, employers and talent, ideas and execution, or problems and solutions, they master the art of brokering value. This mindset opens the door to wealth without capital, influence without infrastructure, and impact without inventory. From diamond trading in Antwerp to tech deal-making in Silicon Valley, many Jewish professionals have built fortunes simply by knowing how to facilitate trust, structure agreements, and navigate relationships. They may never touch the product, they may not hold stock, but they own the connection, and that's where the real leverage lies. Why is this so powerful? Because connection is limitless. A factory can only produce so much. A warehouse can only hold so much. But a connector, someone who knows the market, understands people, and moves with insight, can scale infinitely without the burden of production. Even more, being a middleman requires low financial risk, but high mental agility. It's a business of reputation, timing, and emotional intelligence. You must know who needs what, when they need it, and how to deliver it without friction. In Jewish tradition, this role is even respected spiritually. The Talmud honors those who bring peace, resolve disputes, or facilitate fair trade. The middleman is not seen as someone who gets in the way, but as someone who makes the way possible. In today's digital age, this mindset is more relevant than ever. Look at platforms like Airbnb, Uber, or Amazon Marketplace. They own little, but connect millions. They are modern versions of the Jewish middleman. No factories, no taxis, no hotels, just infrastructure for trust and connection. This same model can be applied in almost every industry. In real estate, match buyer to seller. In freelancing, connect clients to creatives. In commerce, link wholesalers with retailers. In ideas, match inventors with investors. The key is not what you own, but what you understand. Who needs what they fear, what they dream of, and how to solve their problem faster than anyone else. That insight is your product. That network is your capital. And here lies a deeper wisdom. The ability to create value without ownership is the ultimate freedom. You are not tied to inventory, overhead, or slow-moving assets. You are agile, informed, and influential. Your power comes from what you know, not what you hold. Jewish thinking doesn't chase control for its own sake. It values influence over possession and mobility over mass and speed over scale. That's why many Jewish business models focus on consulting, brokerage, deal-making, and high-trust referrals. They know that the middle is often the most powerful place to stand. So, if you think you need capital to start, think again. What you truly need is insight, empathy, and connection. Be the bridge, be the signal, be the one who brings people together. Because in the Jewish mindset, wealth isn't about owning more, it's about connecting better. The 2278 mindset: focus on the high-value few. In business, as in life, not all people, efforts, or opportunities are created equal. While many spread themselves thin, trying to please everyone, serve everyone, and reach everyone, the Jewish mindset takes a different route: strategic focus. They understand a powerful principle of disproportion. 22% of your customers generate 78% of your value. This is not just a statistic, it's a philosophy, a lens through which the Jewish community views business relationships, time investment, and resource allocation. It's about recognizing that a small group of high-potential connections is often worth more than the crowd. This principle, derived from the Pareto law, but applied even more specifically, is used not only in sales or marketing, but in daily thinking and decision-making. Whether you're running a business, building a brand, or leading a community, this mindset teaches you to ask, who are the 22% that truly move the needle? Who are the clients, partners, or relationships that multiply results, not just add to them? Rather than diluting time and energy trying to satisfy the masses, Jewish entrepreneurs zoom in on the few who matter most, the clients who buy repeatedly, the allies who open doors, the networks that create opportunities. This is where true leverage happens. A Jewish business person will often cut off low-effort, low-return relationships, not out of arrogance, but out of strategic clarity. They understand that time is a finite asset, and if you're giving it away evenly, you're wasting its potential. They invest deeply in understanding their high-value group. What motivates them? What problems do they obsess over? What kind of service, product, or value would make them feel indispensable? They build long-term loyalty with these 22%, offer tailored solutions, and nurture personal trust. And in return, they generate not just revenue, but referrals, reputation, and repeat business. This mindset also applies beyond commerce. In learning, Jews often focus on mastering a few core texts rather than skimming dozens. In community, they build a tight inner circle of trust instead of chasing popularity. In strategy, they choose one high-leverage move rather than 20 small ones. It's about depth over width. Compare two people, one who talks to 100 potential clients but converts 3, and another who talks to 10 ideal clients and converts 7. The latter wins, not because they worked harder, but because they worked smarter. That is the essence of 2278. It also cultivates emotional clarity. When you focus on the few who truly matter, you avoid the stress of trying to please everyone. You free yourself from low-value distractions, energy-draining relationships, and time-consuming tasks that produce little return. Instead of being everywhere, you become indispensable somewhere. In today's noisy world, full of followers, views, and vanity metrics, this wisdom is more relevant than ever. True influence is not how many know your name. It's how many trust you, need you, and pay you well because you serve them like no one else. This is the Jewish edge. Find your 22%, then give them 100%. That's how small circles build big empires. That's how focused minds create lasting wealth, not by spreading out, but by doubling down on what truly matters. Move fast, move different. That's how you build wealth. In a world flooded with overthinking and hesitation, the Jewish mindset embraces a sharp truth. Ideas don't make you rich, action does. While many wait for the perfect moment, the Jewish approach is to act fast, act smart, and act different. This is not about reckless moves, but about decisive movement once opportunity knocks. They know that in the game of life and wealth, timing often beats talent, and execution always beats intention. The Jewish way is not to sit back and theorize endlessly. When they see a window open, even a crack, they move. They test, they adapt, they take small but strategic steps while others are still talking. It's not impulsiveness, it's trained agility. Jewish culture, especially in business, values speed of implementation. They may brainstorm, but never get stuck in it. Once an idea seems viable, they launch a version, get real-world feedback, and refine from there. This lean approach allows them to fail fast, adjust fast, and succeed faster. They don't wait until the stars align. They know alignment is rare and often comes after action, not before it. The perfect condition is not a requirement. Resourcefulness is. They begin with what they have, where they are, and trust that momentum will open more doors than preparation alone ever could. This mindset is tied closely to a principle that separates those who talk about wealth from those who build it. Speed creates options. Delay creates regret. In the modern economy, first movers often dominate, not because they have the best product, but because they were the first to solve a problem, speak to a need, or enter a space. Jewish entrepreneurs understand this instinctively. They watch trends early, read signals fast, and strike before markets are crowded. They are also not afraid of being different. In fact, they lean into difference as a competitive edge. When others follow templates, they ask, what's missing here? When others copy, they create. When others chase safety, they explore untapped paths. This courage to be different isn't rooted in rebellion. It's rooted in awareness of value. They know that money flows to the rare, not the redundant. To do what others won't when others can't, and before others do. That's the formula. And this isn't just for tech moguls or hedge fund managers. It applies to every area of life. A student who tries an unconventional method of studying, a worker who proposes a new system at work, a small business owner who tries TikTok before the competition. These are the seeds of difference, and in difference lies disproportionate reward. Jewish tradition also emphasizes not letting fear steal opportunity. In the Talmud, there's a saying, "Who is wise? He who sees what is coming." But seeing is not enough. Wisdom also lies in responding with speed. Hesitation is often the costliest move. And that's why Jewish communities don't just value knowledge, they value courageous implementation. They raise children to not only think critically, but to act confidently, even in uncertainty. They teach that no strategy matters if it's only on paper. The battlefield is where wealth is won, and the battlefield favors those who move first. So if you're waiting until you're ready, until you're qualified, or until things calm down, understand this: you'll be late. Wealth favors the early. It rewards the bold. It multiplies for the ones who dare to be different and are brave enough to act when others are still preparing. Think fast, act faster, build different. That's not just Jewish thinking. That's how legacies are built. The iron cage mindset, breaking internal barriers. Some of the most impenetrable prisons are not made of steel or stone. They are built from rigid beliefs, inherited fears, and mental walls we don't even see. The Jewish mindset calls this the iron cage, not the limits imposed by society, but the limits we place on ourselves. While many blame circumstances, lack of resources, or external obstacles, the Jewish perspective begins with a more radical idea. Your greatest obstacle is internal, your thinking. And until you confront the invisible bars of your own mind, no freedom is truly possible. This is why Jewish education and culture emphasize mental flexibility over blind tradition, critical thinking over passive acceptance, and resilience over resignation. They believe that while you can't always change where you start, you can always change how you think about where you're going. In history, The Jewish people have been exiled, enslaved, restricted, and persecuted. But they never let the world define them. They refused to let geography, politics, or poverty be the limit of their imagination. Instead, they cultivated what we now call anti-fragile thinking, a mindset that gets stronger under pressure and creates its own path when none seems to exist. They are not trapped by the idea that this is how it's always been done. On the contrary, they often become the ones who question the system, challenge the rules, and design better ones. From science to finance, law to literature, Jewish thinkers have redefined entire industries, not because they had an advantage, but because they weren't afraid to think differently. This is the true power of breaking the iron cage, the courage to question everything you've assumed about what's possible, what's allowed, and what's within your reach. They teach their children early. Just because it hasn't been done doesn't mean you can't do it. You don't have to follow the road. You can build your own. A closed door is not the end. It's just the beginning of the wall you must climb. This mindset applies to more than just business or success. It applies to identity, voice, and value. Many people walk through life carrying chains placed on them by culture, family, or fear. They say, "I'm not smart enough. I wasn't born into wealth. People like me don't do things like that." These beliefs become mental cages, invisible, but deeply real. Jewish wisdom challenges this. It says, every belief must be tested, not inherited. Every limitation must be interrogated, not accepted. They don't wait for permission to evolve. They don't ask the world to change first. They begin by changing the way they interpret the world. Because freedom starts not with escape, but with perspective. This is why Jewish thinkers often flourish in the most unlikely places. They see potential where others see dead ends. They find angles where others see walls. They ask questions others are afraid to voice. And in doing so, they unlock possibilities hidden behind mental bars. The iron cage is broken not by brute force, but by clarity of vision and flexibility of thought. In today's world, this mindset is more important than ever. With constant information, pressure to conform, and fear-based narratives, people are increasingly stuck in cages they didn't build, but still carry. The Jewish approach is a call to dismantle those cages. Ask yourself, what belief am I carrying that no longer serves me? What fear am I mistaking for fact? What limit am I calling reality that is actually just a lack of imagination? True success, spiritual, emotional, and financial, begins with a jailbreak of the mind. And once that happens, the world stops being a maze and starts becoming a map. Don't live in the cage. Don't decorate the bars. Break them. Question them. Walk through them. That's how the Jewish people thrive, not just by surviving, but by refusing to think small. Prepare in the sunshine, so you don't panic in the storm. While most people only act when trouble strikes, the Jewish mindset operates on a deeper principle. True strength is built long before it's needed. They prepare when skies are clear, not because they expect disaster, but because they understand the cycles of life. They know that every sunny day carries within it the shadow of a possible storm, and the best time to get ready is before the clouds appear. This mindset is not about fear, it's about foresight. Jewish wisdom teaches that the greatest form of security comes not from reacting quickly, but from thinking ahead constantly. Whether it's in money, education, relationships, or health, preparation is seen not as optional, but as a moral and intellectual responsibility. From ancient texts to modern classrooms, Jewish teachings reinforce one powerful truth. Life is uncertain, but you don't have to be unprepared. That's why Jewish families often prioritize saving when others are spending, learning when others are relaxing, investing in skills even when their current job feels secure, building relationships before they're needed, creating systems and safety nets before the fall ever happens. This is how resilience is born, not in the middle of the crisis, but in quiet preparation far in advance. In finance, this shows up in the Jewish practice of frugality and smart investment. They don't spend to impress, they spend to preserve. Emergency funds, diversified portfolios, long-term plans, these are all part of the sunshine preparation. While others are chasing trends, they're asking, what will this look like in 5 years? What if the market changes tomorrow? Will I be ready when things no longer go my way? And the same principle applies to knowledge. Jewish culture places extraordinary value on lifelong learning. They read when others are distracted. They teach even when they're still learning. They build intellectual reserves the same way others build financial ones, bit by bit, every day, until one day it becomes a fortress of understanding. Because they know, when crisis comes, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your preparation. This is why Jewish professionals often navigate chaos with composure. Their minds are trained. Their instincts are rehearsed. Their backup plans have backup plans. They think like chess players, always looking 5 moves ahead, anticipating not just opportunities, but also setbacks, and preparing accordingly. In relationships, this same preparation shows up as emotional intelligence. They nurture friendships, mentor others, build community bonds, not for immediate gain, but because they understand that one day, these connections will be the safety net they fall into, or the bridge they need to cross. And perhaps most importantly, they prepare not just for survival, but for reinvention. When systems collapse, economies crash, or careers end, they're ready. Not to rebuild what was lost, but to build something entirely new. That's the power of pre-investing in skills, mindset, and strategy. So many people wait until it's too late to act. They try to learn a new skill when the job is gone. They try to start saving when the bills pile up. They try to grow emotionally only after relationships fail. But the Jewish way says start now, even if you don't need it yet, especially if you don't need it yet. Because tomorrow's crisis is shaped by today's choices. The sun is shining? Good. That's the perfect time to read that book, start that savings account, build that business cushion, take that course, reconnect with that person. Because when the rain comes, and it always does, you won't be scrambling. You'll be ready, calm, grounded, ahead of the curve. Prepare when it's easy, so you can thrive when it's hard. That's how the Jewish people survive storms and emerge stronger after each one. Don't follow the crowd. Think like an elevator, not an escalator. In a noisy world where trends come and go like tides, the Jewish mindset stands out with rare clarity. When the crowd runs one way, pause, observe, and ask why. They do not follow blindly. They do not chase what is popular just because it's easy. Instead, they apply what can be called elevator thinking. What does that mean? Most people live on escalators. They step on, let momentum carry them, and assume that because everyone else is going in the same direction, it must be right. But the Jewish way is more like stepping into an elevator. You pause, you press with intention, and you rise. Not with the crowd, but with direction. This mindset rejects conformity in favor of clarity and conviction. It teaches that success doesn't come from blending in. It comes from standing firm when others sway, and from choosing the right path even when it's not the most crowded one. Jewish thinkers have long understood that the majority is often wrong, not because people are foolish, but because people are reactive. When the masses chase a stock, a job trend, a business fad, or a social movement, it's often driven by emotion, not evaluation. Hype, not reason. Fear of missing out, not clarity of purpose. But the Jewish approach is deeply rooted in discernment. They ask, is this true or just trendy? Is this path aligned with my values or just convenient? Am I thinking or just moving? They know that what's easy now may become difficult later, and what's unpopular now may be exactly what builds long-term value. This is why, throughout history, Jewish entrepreneurs, scholars, and leaders have chosen unconventional paths, from science to finance, education to technology. While others ran after quick wins, they built systems. While others competed in saturated markets, they created new ones. While others copied, they questioned. This resistance to the herd is not about rebellion. It's about responsibility to your own mind. It's the belief that your path should be chosen, not inherited. That your values, not trends, should steer your life. Even Jewish religious studies reflect this mindset. Students in yeshivas are trained not just to memorize, but to question, debate, challenge the text. It's not about swallowing what's given. It's about engaging it with full intellectual force. And this carries over into every decision they make, from business to relationships, from where to live to how to invest. They don't rush with the wave. They step back, analyze, and often ask, where is everyone not going and why? because opportunity often hides where others refuse to look. This mindset also gives them emotional power. When the crowd panics, they stay calm. When others jump into bubbles, they hold back. When markets crash, they're ready, not because they predicted perfectly, but because they never surrendered their mind to the masses. In today's world, dominated by social media algorithms and viral noise, this lesson matters more than ever. Everyone is running, reacting, and replicating. But those who pause and rise like elevators, with focus, vision, and independence, are the ones who reach higher levels, not just faster lanes. So ask yourself, are you choosing your path or just inheriting one? Are you moving with purpose or just swept up by motion? Are you going deeper or just going along? Because in the end, you don't need the crowd to succeed. You need clarity. You need courage. You need a different view. That's the Jewish elevator mindset. Pause, choose, rise with intention. Become someone worth connecting with. Attract, don't chase. In today's hyper-connected world, many people are busy trying to expand their network, collecting contacts, sending messages, attending events, hoping to meet the right person. But the Jewish mindset flips this entire approach. Don't chase valuable people. Become a person others want to chase. Instead of obsessing over who they can meet, Jews focus on who they are becoming. They understand that the most powerful connections aren't forced. They are magnetized, and that magnetism comes from one thing: personal value. The question is not, how do I reach high-level people? It's what makes me worth being reached out to. Jewish culture places a deep emphasis on building inner capital: skills, knowledge, character, reputation. These are the silent currencies that make someone irresistibly valuable to communities, partners, and opportunities. And they don't appear overnight. They're cultivated day by day with intention. From childhood, Jewish individuals are taught to invest in self-development, to study with discipline, not just for grades but for wisdom, to practice integrity, even when no one is watching, to give before they take, to build something real, not just look impressive. Because they know, people are drawn to competence, reliability, and usefulness. Not just charisma, not empty words, but real, solid value that improves the lives of others. This is why many Jewish professionals, founders, and scholars build a name before they need it. They don't wait for a crisis to develop a reputation. They spend years building trust, delivering results, and being the kind of person people talk about in rooms they're not in. Reputation in the Jewish mindset is compound interest. Every act of follow-through, every solution delivered, every generous gesture, it all adds to the invisible bank account of credibility. And once it's full, connections come naturally. They also understand that real networking is not transactional, it's transformational. They don't approach people with, "What can I get from you?" Instead, they ask, "What problem can I solve? What idea can I bring? What value can I offer?" That's the shift. Don't knock on doors. Build something that makes people knock on yours. Don't beg to be included. Become so good, you're impossible to ignore. And this applies at every level, not just in business or leadership. Even in friendships, mentorships, and family dynamics, Jewish thinking prioritizes character over charm, contribution over clout. If you want to be surrounded by people of wisdom, power, or integrity, become one of them first. That's how gravity works. The stronger your value, the stronger your pull. So the Jewish approach is not to rush into circles hoping for a shortcut. It's to build your own center of gravity based on credibility, kindness, competence, and consistency. Then, without chasing, the right people will orbit you naturally. In a world where everyone is networking, few are worth networking with. Be the exception. Don't just reach out. Rise up. Don't just connect. Contribute. Because in the Jewish way of thinking, the best way to earn powerful relationships is to become a person of power yourself. Invest in yourself, the only asset that can't be taken away. In a world where people rush to invest in stocks, real estate, and the latest business trend, the Jewish mindset focuses on something far more fundamental and far more powerful: investing in yourself. Because markets crash, companies fall, and money can disappear overnight. But your mind, your skills, your health, and your wisdom stay with you. They are the only assets that can never be stolen, taxed, or lost in a downturn. This is why Jewish culture consistently places self-investment above material pursuit. Before building wealth, build capacity. Before acquiring possessions, acquire perspective. Before managing others, learn to manage yourself. From a young age, Jewish children are taught that your most reliable bank is your brain. Fill it with knowledge, sharpen it with questions, protect it with discipline. Because no matter where life takes you, whether you move countries, change industries, or lose everything, what's inside you determines how you rise again. This isn't just motivational, it's strategic. It's the reason why Jews, despite facing centuries of exile, discrimination, and forced migration, have been able to rebuild from nothing again and again. Because what they carried with them wasn't gold, it was education, perspective, problem-solving ability, and resilience. They understand that wealth built outside can disappear, but wealth built inside becomes your foundation forever. That's why they invest in wisdom, reading, studying, asking, debating, not to win arguments, but to sharpen judgment. Skills, communication, business, negotiation, leadership, finance, these are muscles they train continuously. Health, because the body is the engine of the mind. A sharp mind in a failing body is a wasted gift. Financial literacy, knowing how money moves, how to make it grow, how to protect it, not just for profit, but for freedom. Spiritual and emotional intelligence, understanding themselves, managing their emotions, building values that last longer than trends. And most of all, they understand self-worth precedes net worth. If you grow yourself, you'll eventually grow everything around you, your income, your influence, your impact. But if you neglect yourself while chasing external success, you'll find yourself rich in assets, but bankrupt in confidence, clarity, and direction. That's why Jewish entrepreneurs often say, before you build a business, build your character. Because in crisis, in competition, and in uncertainty, it's your preparation, not your position, that determines who wins. This mindset also rejects the modern impatience of get rich fast. Jewish thinking is about get wise-always. Because once you're wise, wealth is no longer a mystery. It becomes a byproduct. Even in the Talmud, there's a famous saying, an educated man is never poor. Because even if he has nothing in his hands, he can create, solve, trade, teach, and rise again. So if you're wondering where to start or what to invest in when things feel uncertain, the answer is simple. Start with you. Take that course, read that book, practice that skill, heal that wound, challenge that belief, upgrade that mindset. Because the more valuable you become, the less you'll have to chase opportunities. They'll find you. Investing in yourself is not vanity, it's vision. It's not selfishness, it's responsibility. It's not luxury, it's leverage. Because in the end, everything you build, wealth, career, relationships, rests on one foundation, you. And when that foundation is strong, there's nothing you can't rebuild, reinvent, or rise from. That's the Jewish way. That's timeless wealth. Awaken the mind. Break the cycle of poverty. Poverty, in the Jewish worldview, is not just a lack of money. It's often a lack of perspective, a mental loop that traps people in the same patterns, thoughts, and fears. To escape poverty, the first and most important step is not earning more. It is thinking differently. Jewish culture teaches that wealth begins in the mind, not in luck, not in inheritance, not even in hard work. It begins with awareness, a deep, sometimes uncomfortable realization that what got you here won't get you there. To grow, you must awaken. You must challenge everything you believe about success, failure, money, and your own limits. This process of awakening doesn't happen once. It is a lifelong discipline. Jewish thinkers, scholars, and families encourage constant questioning. From early education in the Torah to modern-day business strategies, one rule remains: never stop asking why. Why do I believe money is hard to earn? Why do I fear success? Why do I think I don't deserve more? Why do I keep repeating the same patterns and expecting different results? Because until those mental chains are broken, no external success can truly last. The Jewish mindset embraces cognitive evolution, the idea that your mind must constantly be updated, just like a system. Outdated beliefs are like viruses. They infect every decision, sabotage every plan, and silently pull you back into the old cycle. That's why the Jewish path to wealth is never purely external. It begins internally, with a revolution in thought. They don't idolize tradition for its own sake. They respect history, but refuse to be ruled by it. Every generation is expected to learn anew, think anew, and rise anew. Because every generation faces different challenges, and only updated minds create updated outcomes. They challenge the most dangerous mindset of all. This is how I've always lived. Instead, they ask, is there a better way? And then they search, read, debate, explore, and transform. This commitment to mental upgrading breaks generational cycles. Many Jewish families started with nothing, refugees, immigrants, laborers. But they did not pass down just money. They passed down mindsets. Think critically. Question the default. Build yourself before blaming others. When the world changes, adapt faster than anyone else. That's why so many Jewish individuals have risen from poverty to power, not once, but repeatedly across continents and centuries. Not because they had more resources, but because they refused to live on mental autopilot. They know that the poor mindset waits for rescue. The awakened mindset builds its own escape. The poor mindset clings to comfort. The awakened mindset leans into discomfort, knowing that's where real change begins. And this doesn't mean being arrogant or rejecting help. It means taking full ownership of your future by starting with what you can control first, your own mind. So if you're stuck in cycles, financially, emotionally, generationally, understand this. The first prison to break is not your bank account, it's your beliefs. Don't just work harder. Think newer, think clearer, think braver. Read, reflect, rewrite your internal script. Because the moment you awaken to a new level of thought, you step out of the loop and into leadership. And from that place, wealth is no longer a fantasy. It's a strategy. That's the Jewish way. Break the thought, break the chain, build the future. Sow the seed, don't grind it into dust. To many, money is something to be spent, flaunted, or even feared. But in the Jewish mindset, money is something far more sacred and strategic, a seed. And like every seed, its true power is not in how it looks now, but in what it can become if planted with wisdom and patience. Jewish culture teaches that money is not meant to be consumed, it's meant to be cultivated. While the world often rushes to grind their seeds into instant gratification, purchases, status, short-term thrills, Jewish thinking trains people to resist the urge to spend and instead choose to sow. They ask, where can this dollar grow? What kind of harvest can I prepare for? How can I delay consumption to multiply value? Because they know, once a seed is ground, it's gone. But when a seed is planted, it creates a future. This is why Jewish families and individuals consistently invest in education, knowing that knowledge compounds. Because ability produces income, freedom, and security. Relationships, the kind that open doors money alone never could. Businesses and assets, not flashy expenses. Children's growth, because legacy matters more than luxury. They are not against enjoying life, but they enjoy it with discipline, direction, and deep purpose. They don't spend to impress, they spend to empower. This mindset transforms even small amounts of money. What looks like just $100 to someone else becomes a book, a course, a tool, a micro-investment, a seed carefully placed in the soil of the future. That's why Jewish success often looks quiet in the beginning, but unstoppable in the long run. Because while others are spending, they are planting. While others are grinding, they are growing. While others live for the weekend, they live for the next decade. They also understand the cost of not planting. Every dollar burned on impulse is a dollar that could have created leverage. Every short-term choice that favors pleasure over growth delays the harvest. And in Jewish thinking, delayed harvest means delayed freedom. There's an old principle in Jewish teachings. He who sows sparingly will reap sparingly. He who sows generously will reap generously. But that sowing must be intentional, not emotional. This is why even children in Jewish homes are often taught financial basics early, how to save, how to give, and most importantly, how to grow money rather than just spend it. They don't learn to fear money, but to respect its potential. In practical terms, this means they choose to rent if it frees up capital to invest. They drive modestly so they can build aggressively. They say no to temporary status so they can say yes to permanent strength. And it's not about being cheap. It's about being future rich instead of moment rich. In a culture driven by consumerism, this mindset is radical. But it works. Because wealth that lasts is not built by flashy choices. It's built by patient planting, season after season, with trust in the process. So the next time you hold a sum of money, big or small, ask yourself, am I grinding this seed for crumbs? Or am I planting it for fruit that feeds generations? Because in the Jewish mindset, every dollar is a seed. Don't waste it on dust. Plant it, nurture it, let it grow into something greater than yourself. That's not just how they handle money. That's how they build lasting wealth, with vision, discipline, and fertile ground. Thank you, dear friends, for joining us today. Your presence truly matters, and we appreciate you spending your valuable time here. If something in this video touched your heart or made you think differently, leave us a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts and continue the conversation. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe so you never miss out on more content that empowers and uplifts. Wishing you all the best. Until next time, take care and stay amazing.